Our second theme for today is about the changing roles of self, as in the student or the learner, and teachers and parents, as well as extended family. Um, I know that for me, 2020 marked me taking much greater ownership of my own academics, and my parents keeping a much greater check on what I was studying and when I was studying. And for my teachers, who I was originally very, very close to, having to take a step back and being strictly confined to the classroom and teaching me. And so, with this theme, I would invite our three speakers, Samrid, Pranjal, and Chetan, to speak about their experiences with changing roles. Our first speaker is Samrid. Samrid, I would ask you to introduce yourself and then go on and speak. Thank you.
Sure. So, good morning to one and all present here. My name is Samrid Baheti. I am from Mayo College, grade 11, which is a school in Rajasthan, Ajmer. So, I would start by saying a quote by the great Chinese author Sun Tzu. The quote is, "In midst of chaos, there is also opportunity." So, by chaos, I am referring to the COVID-19 pandemic, and by opportunity, I am referring to one's own being of exploring uh, themselves and their surroundings. You see, in life, we all have experienced changing roles at some point or the other, be it a leadership opportunity in school or even organizing your own room. Now, I am going to share my views on the topic changing roles of oneself, one teachers, and one's family members due to the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown. Firstly, due to the lockdown posed by the coronavirus, we were restricted to our homes. As a result, most of us tended to explore more about ourselves, which made us see a more clear picture of who we really are and our goals and our ambitions. Our goals in life became clearer and we became more mature so as to achieve our goals. So one's roles to oneself has become relatively more mature than before. Secondly, due to the lockdown posed by the coronavirus, students were unable to attend schools physically. Most of the schools arranged for the students an online platform for education. So soon, the teachers realized that they started to miss the physical class and as well as their students, as the online platform was nowhere near a physical experience of a classroom. And also in some cases, the schools could not even arrange for the students an online platform. So for some students, they were completely cut off from their teachers for a year, for almost a year. So this tended, and so this led to a deeper bond between the students and teachers. So the role of the teachers changed from just a teacher who was only concerned with the marks and the percentages of a student to being a mentor who is also concerned about their personal lives. Now, thirdly, family and the parents. So as we all were restricted in our homes for a very long time, we were able to spend more time with our family or in some cases only with our parents. But this quality time which we spend with our family members and loved ones made us know each other better. So the bond went way deeper than it was before. And the role in which the families and parents were in for any single citizen, it changed from just acquaintances to a close friends. So, and lastly, I would like to requote my quote from which I started the speech, and that is, "In midst of chaos, there is also opportunity." So, by keeping this in mind, I would like to conclude my speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samrid, for that enlightening speech. I think the idea of being able to explore ourselves as well as our relationships with our family members is especially interesting, and is something that all of us were able to do, hopefully, in this period. So thank you so much for that speech. I would now like to invite Pranjal Mishra to introduce himself and give his speech. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm Pranjal Mishra. I'm entering grade 12 in Sanskriti School, New Delhi in India. I'll talk about the changing roles of various stakeholders in any student's education in these new ways of learning that we've all had to adjust to. I'll speak briefly about four major themes which I feel are the most relevant and that I personally have experienced as being very important shifts in the past 1 year. So, the first major theme I'd like to talk about is the opportunity for better learning created by the online setup. So, for example, about asking doubts, I've noticed that a lot of students who were earlier in physical classes were more conscious about asking doubts because their friends were all around them, have become a little more comfortable in just unmuting themselves and asking questions because more often than not, people's cameras are off and they don't have to look at the other people's faces. Therefore, asking doubts has become much more comfortable for many students, including myself. The second major benefit of the online setup is the computer-based system, computer-based teaching, which is why we can visualize concepts better. For example, in mathematics this year, our teacher actually showed us real-time graphic representations of various trigonometric functions. So, taken together, the online setup has helped to deepen learning, complete one's learning, and to complete one's understanding of concepts that they have learned in school. The second major theme is what I feel is the changing role of a student in learning, which I feel has been spoken about earlier as well. But just to reiterate that the student now is much more responsible for their own learning. A teacher can't see if you've not understood a concept because that your cameras more often than not have been off. Therefore, the student, unless the student goes to the teacher and actually has the initiative to ask their doubts to the teacher won't know. Therefore, a person has to be much more proactive in improving their own learning and therefore has to be a lot more self aware. The third major theme is the changing role of parents, which again has been spoken about to some extent. Because a lot of parents have been at home, or at least have spent more time at home during this period, they've had the opportunity to talk to their children more about their studies, about how their education is going. And I feel there has been a shift from school being more of an isolated interaction between the student and the institution to being a partnership between the parents and the students and the institutions. And I feel this shift is very important because it brings the new element of parents and family members into the learning equation more than they had been earlier. The final major theme is the other major challenges which have been posed, and I'll talk about just the two major ones that I felt is very important. The first is that obviously teachers are not able to see their students, so they don't know how much the student is understanding unless the student is forthcoming. It is easy to bunk in the name of connection issues, bunking classes, and it's easier to cheat in online exams. So this is one very major challenge for the teachers themselves. Second major, and I feel the most lasting challenge and something that can have the most lasting impression on the students is loneliness. So what I've noticed is that groups that existed before this new system came about have become a lot more concentrated. Friend groups have become more concentrated. Interaction with new kids has reduced because it is so difficult to interact with new people in the online or through the online medium. Therefore, people who either did not have a very strong group of friends or just could not adjust to, calling on a daily basis or video calling friends who could not adjust to that system, they tend to feel a little left out. And I know people who felt very lonely during this period and have had to go through very challenging situations. So, in conclusion, I'd just like to say that I hope the major challenges that I've spoken about do resolve themselves as more and more students go back to school, as the process has been started in many places. And the opportunities that have been created, the new habits and the new systems that we have discovered to learn better, they stick around, they stay with us so that learning in the future is as holistic, if not more, than it has become.
Thank you
With
so
that,
much.
I'd like
Thank you, Pranjal. So what I got from Pranjal's speech was that students have to be more proactive, which I thought was a very interesting idea. But also how when cameras are off, it's much easier to ask doubts, which is something I had never thought of when I was in my online classes. So thank you for that, Pranjal. And I would now like to invite Chetan. Chetan, please introduce yourself and then go ahead with your speech. Thanks.
Thank you, Kabir. The measure of intelligence is the ability to change, Albert Einstein. Good evening to all the participants in today's panel discussion. My name is Chetanji Vadvani, and I'm a student of grade 11 in Shivnada School, Noida, in India. And today I shall be sharing my views on the changing roles of self, teachers, and parents. Due to the influence of COVID-19, the educational sector, like any other, has taken time to settle into the new normal. Many methodologies regarding studies have been reconsidered and reconstructed so as to create a more effective virtual environment. Consequently, the role of students, teachers, and parents have also evolved. Add to this the constant woes of unreliable web services, which made virtual classrooms many times impossible. For students, it has undoubtedly been restrictive. The essence of learning in a physical environment where students can appreciate social activities, sports, etc., has been entirely replaced by isolated monitor screens. But while COVID has taken a bite in our social life, it has created a space for our students to grow bite by bite. Firstly, e-learning, virtual classrooms, webinars, etc. are the hallmarks of new age learning. It is time that we pull up our socks and unleash our tech-savvy side. Secondly, the students also have to hone up their communication skills with their teachers and peers so as to not lag behind in the virtual environment. Finally, the onus of responsibility has shifted from parents and teachers to the students. It is no more about reaching the school on time or forcibly attending classes. It is rather up to us whether we attend classes or merely log in our presence and carry on sleeping, watching Netflix, or chatting with our friends. Moving on to the teachers, I believe their domain as well has taken quite a quantum leap. Firstly, in the virtual space, the teacher has to maintain dual roles, that of an educator and that of an educatee. This is because online teaching is new and requires a different approach of guiding students. Hence, he or she has to constantly upskill themselves to fit into the virtual methodology. Second, in the virtual environment, a teacher's capability of being a motivator is really tested. This is because students studying online find it hard and a lot of times discouraging. And without the correct dose of motivation and encouragement, they tend to bunk classes. Hence, I believe a lot of effort within and beyond the classroom is put by teachers to individually communicate and encourage each learner. Lastly, online assessment and identification of strengths and weaknesses of students, you can only gauge in two dimensions so as to provide parents with an actual feedback on their board's educational journey is also not easy. Now let us talk about parents that form the third part of this triangle, and our discussion shall not be complete without referring to them. Firstly, they have to participate more actively in their child's daily schedule to ensure a healthy timetable where the ward is prioritizing his or her education without wasting time on social media all day. Simultaneously, they also have to put in effort to encourage a holistic development of their child, extracurricular wise, within the confines of their respective homes. Second, the parents have to ensure availability of space for maintaining personal boundaries. And lastly, parents also need to make sure that they are in constant contact with teachers to get constant feedbacks regarding their ward's participation and performance in classes. So, in conclusion, I would like to conclude my talk by saying that life is dynamic, and the only thing constant in life is change. And how well we adapt to it, it depends upon us. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech, Chetan. I thought the quote of your measure to change and your ability to change and overcome virtual hurdles was very interesting, as well as the role of teachers and parents in motivating and encouraging students.